There's a lot to be said of the undiscovered country, the existence or properties of the void, the darkness beyond the veil, the journey to the afterlife. Throughout human history, it has been a primary focus of ancient myths and customs, something we all have to face, but have no way of knowing concretely of what happens when we cross over. Near-death experiences are the closest we seem to have to come in seeing through the veil. Ghosts or spirits that people see could be another one. But what if everything we thought about this ending was wrong? We tend to think of the afterlife in our modern sense like there is some ethereal or astral plane where our souls drift off to or ascend to, mainly due to our religious and New Age inspirations about where our souls go to after the body ceases to be on this plane. However, this isn't a completely new or recent thought or concept of the afterlife. All cultures throughout history share somewhat similar accounts, which does lead to a sort of credence to the concept. The ancient Egyptians had a complex and fascinating view of death and the afterlife. They believed that death was not the end of life, but only the beginning of a new phase in one's eternal journey. They also believed that one's actions and deeds in life would affect one's fate in the afterlife. The ancient Egyptians practiced mummification to preserve the body of the deceased, in which they considered the home of the soul or the Ka. They also buried the dead with various objects such as amulets, jewelry, food, and furniture to help them in their journey to the underworld. They believed that the soul had to pass through a series of trials and challenges before reaching the final judgment by the god Osiris. The most important test was the weighing of the heart, where the heart of the deceased was weighed against a feather of truth. If the heart was lighter than the feather, it meant that the person had lived a good and honest life, and was allowed to enter the paradise known as the Field of Reeds. Now, if the heart was heavier than the feather, it meant that the person had committed sins and crimes, and was devoured by a monster called Ammit. The Field of Reeds was a place where everything that was lost or desired in life was restored and fulfilled. The ancient Egyptians imagined it as a perfect version of their earthly existence, where they could enjoy farming, fishing, hunting, and other activities with their loved ones and their gods. The ancient Greeks had a different view of death and the afterlife than the ancient Egyptians. They believed that death was a separation of the soul, or psyche, from the body, and that the soul would journey to the underworld, ruled by the god Hades. The underworld was not a pleasant place, and most souls would wander there as shadows without any memory or identity. Only a few exceptional souls, such as heroes and philosophers, could achieve a better fate, such as being reborn on the Isle of the Blessed, or joining the gods on Mount Olympus. The ancient Greeks practiced various rites and rituals to honor the dead and help them in their journey to the underworld. These included washing and anointing the body, dressing in fine clothes and jewelry, and laying it out on a bed for mourners to pay their respects, carrying it in a procession to the cemetery, cremating it or burying it with grave goods, erecting a tombstone or a monument, and making regular visits to the grave with offerings of food, drink, flowers, and libations. They also had a concept of hero cult, which involved worshipping the dead heroes who had performed great deeds in life. These heroes were believed to have a special connection with the gods, and to be able to grant favors or protection to their worshippers. Hero cults were often centered on tombs or shrines where people would bring offerings and perform rituals. Some of the most famous heroes who received cults were Achilles, Hercules, Theseus, and Perseus. These ancient cultures believed that life continued on in some fashion into the other realms, much like we do today. From this concept, we have the idea of spirits and ghosts who have not found their way to their destination in the afterlife, either having not been prepared for the journey or some other attachment to this realm that the spirit cannot shake. Ghosts are an interesting topic because I still haven't determined what they are, or if they are really real. In most cases, if inspected and researched, it can be determined that it's a trick of the mind or an emotional or psychological distortion of the observers. But that doesn't mean that they don't really happen. I myself lived in a house that we thought was haunted and have seen my fair share of ghosts, felt the odd presence of others, and other odd, strange events. And if you're interested, I may do a Halloween special on Halloween in which I detail my ghostly encounters. Let me know in the comments below if you'd like to see that. If the existence of ghosts and spirits or demons, etc., could ever be verified, then we would have a sort of confirmation that these concepts of the afterlife were somewhat true, that these old myths and beliefs were accurate to some degree, and we could live out our lives accordingly. However, we don't have a conclusive evidence of such, and we are left to discover the answers on our own. Almost like the mystery is being kept from all of us, on purpose. If we were to look at the simulation theory, we could conclude this, that we are just recycled information put back into the matrix when our playing time has ended, and science, in its limited concept of the universe, sides with this in a sense, that we are all just information and we get recycled into the essence of the universe. But our conscious minds and consciousness itself lends us to believe that it is not only just a recycling of information. Our belief in the afterlife is tied to our conscious minds, our fear of losing all of our true uniqueness, that thing that makes us us. We can lose our bodies. They get old and feeble, that's fine. But our spirit, our consciousness, that seems much more precious. To lose that sparks the fear of the D word. For most, faith in religious or spirituality is enough to quell the nagging and persisting questions of what comes after. This faith then becomes arrogance and closed-mindedness. And to be honest, we simply don't know the answer. However, people who experience out-of-body experiences give us another clue to what may happen. These experiences happen with near-death experiences as well. The sensation that one leaves their physical body can float above their body and watch their own body from outside, watch doctors operate on them, etc. Near-death experiences talk about going towards a light, feeling the sense of warmth and caring, seeing long-deceased family members and friends before they come back to the mundane world. This seems intriguing, and a step into the afterlife is another type of world theory. But is it really happening, or is it a function of the brain before it's completely gone? In a recent study of out-of-body experiences, researchers attached electrodes inside a patient's brain.
Once we discovered the specific region whose stimulation caused self-dissociation, we then investigated what other brain areas, or so-called networks, are connected with this region. We did this in two ways. We looked at the blood flow correlations between this region and the rest of the brain. If other regions are working with this hub region of interest, then their blood flow must be coordinated. In addition, we also delivered.
Their results pointed them towards a region of the brain associated with somatosensory, or body-related information. The APCU and its allied areas process a complex concoction of multisensory stimuli, combining sensations such as pressure, pain, and warmth with visual and vestibular information, which relates to balance, stability, and spatial orientation. Beyond that, the APCU is also connected to the posterior cingulate cortex, which is believed to be involved in the performance of mental time travel.
Disrupted processing in any of the sensory domains may cause a misplaced body schema, and the body schema will, in turn, alter how the sensory inputs are represented. The causal relationship may be the other way around. When the sensory inputs are correctly in place, but if we disrupt the body schema, which we believe is what we did in our study, then the sensation becomes misaligned.
So it is possible, if we take the findings of this study to conclude that out-of-body experiences are nothing more than the brain having a disassociation from its body, and not the spirit or soul. And with this type of findings and thinking, we delve back into the world of the unknown and maybes. So what lies on the other side of existence? Nothing? That on the surface seems like the obvious rational answer. Yet when we look at what we see as nothing, there's millions of atoms and quantum particles and who knows what else that we can't see. What is nothing? Is there anything in this universe that truly is nothing? If we just become recycled information, that's true, definitely on the physical spectrum, but what of the soul? What of consciousness, our own consciousness? Some think it gets dissolved into the universal consciousness. Perhaps, but then that's also the death that we fear, that dissolution of our essence and being and uniqueness. Reincarnation? Possible, yes. However, as the souls keep growing with our population, we have to wonder, are new souls born? For there can't really be this many recycled souls that are in existence now. Where did they come from? Are a certain percentage just NPCs? People with no souls? Do we exist on two planes, unaware mostly of the other plane of existence we reside in, like a tether to the spiritual or astral plane, one where we get reattached or not to a new mundane world body at some point in time? This is the greatest mystery that humanity faces, for there is no way for us to know, unless there is one who truly came back from the dead and revealed it. But then we'd think he was just telling us a fabulous story to make us feel better or worse about our lives. This question always comes down to the meaning of life. Does it have meaning? Or is us trying to give it meaning just a big, sad cope? We could leave it at that, but when one takes the creative aspect to life and starts to really alter reality in ways that one cannot fully describe, the hint lays in that process. Whatever the answer is, it's clear we're not supposed to know, and there's a hint in that revelation as well. But what do you think? What happens when we leave this reality? Reincarnation? Nothing? Let me know in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe to this video. It really helps out a small channel like this one. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.